Alright, my Triple E drivers, so we deep down southwest now. Way past where most people from town does ever reach. Here is Fullerton Beach, and we talking Trinidad. There we go. But first, let me enjoy the beach now. Yes, we driving on this road until we reach the southern main road. Yes, we driving on this road until we reach the southern main road. When we reach there, we take in the road on the left to Cedros. If you go right, you go into Icacos, where we did 2 videos ago. The most western road in Trinidad. Trini trivia fact now by chutney music at a roadside bar. But before we make that turn left, I have to tell all you something. A bit of couture now, by couture is a Bhojpuri word from the old Indianish folks, meaning gossip. Something like in patois or broken French, commerce or bacchanal. Before this place was ever called Icacos, it had a next name altogether. One that not even on any modern map today. In old British colonial slave registers, way back early 1800s, this whole district gets recorded simply as the quarter of Icacos, not Icacos, Icacos with an H. We on the road to Cedros now, and that name come from the Icacos shrub. The first peoples named this land after that same plant. I believe that's the Fullerton Hindu Mandir on the right. Way before Columbus, way before any Spanish or French or British ever set foot here. Yes, that same fruit still growing right here today, and we still calling it fat pork up to now. The Spanish just take the indigenous word and Hispanicize it, Icaco. And that older spelling is exactly what's showing up in all the old colonial paperwork. Small detail, but real powerful one. The oldest written name for this whole stretch of land is not Spanish, not French, not English. Is a straight up echo of an indigenous word for a fruit tree still growing wild on these same beaches today. And them same slave registers reveal something else. something real haunting. It had cotton plantation right here in the quarter of Icacos, named Garden, owned by two men, Ija and Michael Cavalan. Their graves still exist today, hidden away in the bush, and what is now a whole residential estate. Their tombstones over 200 years old. We go get to their full story just now. Trust me, this one deep. Cedros, not just one village, you know. It have plenty little villages mixed up in here. Some still going strong, some more or less gone now. It have Bonas, which is the main community, and then Bamboo, Fullerton, Perseverance, Alok Columbia, St. Marie, Loviozino, and Galfa. Lovios and Galfa. We go get back to Lovios a little later. Trust me, you go want to hear that true. All of them villages used to be big sugar and coconut estates back in the day. Fullerton gets its name from a British Army colonial, William Fullerton, and Bonas, that used to be the old Union Sugar Estate, named after a plantation owner named Jean-Baptiste Bonas. Bonas is a French word for easy going, and that name fit in because Cedros really have that easy, laid-back vibe. You do think? Back under the Spanish, Bonas was even split up into 3 little districts: the Torre, the Considor, and the Corge. And Columbia's estate, they named it after Columbus himself. The man actually docked at those Gallows Point right here, August 2nd, 1498. Now this whole peninsula area used to be literally attached to Venezuela, which in geology time is basically yesterday. We separated by a small little passage they call Boca de la Sierpe, the serpent's mouth, and that's not even 12 kilometers wide. But where does Cedros get its name from? The name Cedros itself comes from the giant cedar trees that used to line the bay. All you take note, Google Maps will show that cemetery here as Cedros Cemetery, but that's not the name on the sign. At the end of 2025, Optimist International Esperance launched a mutual project right here, part of the whole 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. All you hear about the man who have all the flags of the 2026 FIFA World Cup around his house? Look to the left for the house of Ainsley Gopal, retired principal of Point Fortin East Secondary School. That school has a good record in secondary schools football. But you know the biggest story to come out of this little corner of Trinidad? A U.S. senator named Mervyn Dai Malley, born right here in Bonas, Cedros, May 12, 1926. Trini mother, Indian father, a Dogla like Anelna. He started right here on the right. Now over in America they just call him African American. But we know better. In fact, his own daughters say even The Americans couldn't make up their mind. His marriage certificate had him down as Indian. Okay, back to Cedros. Cedros even became one of the main stops for the Round Island steamers back then. You will see the Cedros port ahead just now. Let's pause the story a bit. The Cedros Community Center is on the right. Okay, we are back on the southern main route. Here's another little known Trini trivia for you. First Spanish settlers reached here in 1786, and for a long time Spanish was the language people speaking down here. So much so, the colonial clerk of the peace, John Jacob Thomas, was to teach himself Spanish just to do his work. By the 1800s, this place was doing real good. Sugar, coffee, cocoa, and eventually it was coconut that take over as the big crop. St. Marie Road is on the right, and I believe this road will take you to Galfa, where the beach was uplifted. Now watch this. Go further down past the Balka Devi Mandir and the mud volcano, and the road is split in two. Take the left one and you reach St. Mary Beach. Quiet, tucked away, right in the Biolo area. And Biolo itself is not no new place either. It have old probate papers from the early 1900s. Already talking about Biolio village, Cedros lands, as proper surveyed estate land. So this area has been mapped for over 100 years now. Cedros Fishing Depot on the left. Here we reach Manmohansingh Park, named for the family of the local councillor Basdeo, Manmohansingh. Back in 1985, the Siparia Regional Corporation put up a monument here to mark when East Indians first reached Trinidad. A boat with a father, mother, and child pointing to the land that was to be their new home. And in April 2022, for the 177th Indian Arrival Day, they even unveiled a Mahatma Gandhi statue right here in this park, thanks to the Indian High Commission and Councillor Shankara Tilak Singh. Pink Pui in blue across the road. right now, back to the St. Marie Road history. If you take the right fork instead and you end up at Envious, and all here that name literally means the envious woman. The envious woman in French. Nobody can confirm exactly what story behind that name, but with a name so specific, you know it has some couture. If you know, drop a comment now. What we do know is French planters had settlements all through here from the late 1700s. Under that same 1783 scheduler of population that bring people to Bonastu, a Frenchman named Rumi de Saint Laurent teamed up with Spanish Governor Chacon to convince the King of Spain, Charles III, to give land to Catholic settlers based on how much slaves they bring. Oh, here's something real interesting. You know, this settler also gave land to what they call free colored planters. And all here, what that really mean? They mean the people of mixed African and European ancestry who wasn't enslaved, not free black people who had full African ancestry. Free colored planters got half the land a white settler got, 16 acres instead of 32, plus 8 more acres for every slave they bring, instead of 16. Imagine that, eh? Now Trinidad was still way ahead of what any other Spanish or British colony was doing at the time. Why? Article 5 of the scheduler gave every settler, white or colored, full citizenship rights after 5 years, including the rank to hold public office. Unheard of anywhere else in the Caribbean at that time. Historians call it a remarkable situation, peculiar to Trinidad. Some of the big free-colored planter families that come here, names like Philippe, Casabon, Saturnin, Biobran, Bowden, de la Granade, and yes, that Casabon name, that's the same family line as Michael Jean Casabon, the man who became Trinidad's most celebrated landscape painter. We see his paintings in the last video. Now back to Messieurs Jean and Michael Casabon, the men I was telling you about. Their graves still standing on the Envious estate, surrounded by broken Scottish ballast bricks. Remember, Envious means envious woman. And get this, they actually managed to read what on the tombstones. One say, Jean Casabon, born 11th May 1750, died in 1880, age 68 years, rest in peace. The other one, just say, Michael Casabon, died December 1880. What all you think was the story here? Let me know now. All the other estates were actual names of the owners. This is the only one with a difference. Historians, including the late Angelo Bissessa-Singh, connect these two men straight back to the same Casabon family from slave registers. A falcon just flew up. This is the yellow-headed caracara. Enjoy. The ones who own the garden plantation in the quarter are Icacos. Professor Singh said the whole district used to be part of a sugar settlement called Queimada. And earlier, that name gone completely, though even appear on no map today. And the Cavalan name in itself, dead and gone from Trinidad. Last time it showed up anyway is when a woman named Jeanette Cavalan, who get 44 pounds compensation from the British in 1839 for one slave. We stopped here to look for this bird, the rufescent tiger heron. See the stripes on his back? A very, very rare bird. Most of you would not have seen this bird, but it exists in Trinidad. Lots of humans around, so it must have retreated further away. Now back to Messieurs Jean and Michael, dead and gone from Trinidad. After that, nothing. Name just vanished from history. And you know what's remarkable? Them graves nearly get lost forever. When a wealthy Cedros man buy up the 440-acre Envious estate to build the very first South Coast residential community, the excavators clear cut the whole place for roads and building lots. But the landowner makes sure to save the graves and one old building instead of just bulldozing everything. That site now on the National Trust Heritage Asset Register, officially protected. Venezuela close, and this year that closeness show itself in a way nobody ever expect. June 24, 2026, Venezuela get hit with two big earthquakes, one behind the other, 7.2 and then a 7.5, just 39 seconds apart. Condolences to the families of the victims there. Condolences to the families of the victims. And right here, just 11 kilometers away on the Gulf Coast, the shoreline just push up almost 20 feet out of nowhere. Geologists say it is what they call reactivated slump. Back to Gulf. And this wasn't even the first time. Same thing happened after a 6.9 quake near Trinidad back in 2018. And the mud volcano activity by Los Cedros was similar. This whole stretch of coast just sensitive to whatever shaking coming across from Venezuela. And that's really the reality of living out here at the edge of Trinidad. Deep history, quiet little villages, some serious world-class stories, and a closeness to Venezuela that could bring blessings or could bring trouble. From Fullerton straight through to Cedros, this is a side of Trinidad people never even think about. But every village, every park, every quiet beach, and now even the ground itself have a story to tell. Alright, that's the history for the day. Triple E drivers, hope you enjoyed that. windshield keeps misting up at this hour. believe these roads are restricted forestry department roads. We are in the Chatham environs. Both roads, right and left, will take you to the sea. Check that sky now, drivers. The southern main road continues on the left to Point Fortin. But we are taking the South Central Road, effectively bypassing Point Fortin, because it's already late in the day. I believe this area is called Cap-de-Ville. Up ahead is where this road meets the southern main road just after Point Fortin. And that's where we will end this video today, folks. Thanks for driving along, my Triple-E drivers. Hope you have found value in this video. Until the next vlog, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Join us in the next vlog to see the progress on the Point Fortin Highway. Until then, bye for now.